Hi, everybody. I'm KPRC2 Sports Director Randy Mcilvoy. Welcome to Inside the Texans. Hey, it's part of Mic'd Up with Mcilvoy, our series on KPRC2 Plus, our YouTube page at click2houston.com as we get you ready for another weekend of Houston Texans football. It is week number 4, believe it or not. It's starting to fly by. And then we're pleased to be joined by a couple of great guests here for the next half hour as we chop it up and get you ready for the Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aaron Wilson, our insider for click2houston.com, and former Texan receiver, 6-year NFL veteran Cecil Shorts in the house. Guys, we're talking Texans football today, and after 3 weeks, is it what you guys expected after 3 weeks? Cecil, we'll start with you.
Yes and no. Mainly yes. I would say yes. I think we expect them to be dominant. We expect them to play winning football. I think the first 2 games of the year, if you put those games in last year's season, they probably find a way to lose, right? But the maturity, the veterans you brought on, just guys getting better naturally, the leadership in the room, they improve, they finding ways to win games. Last week was a letdown a little bit, but good teams find ways to get back on track. So far, yes, I would say yes.
When I look at the Texans, it's a mixed bag, Randy. You know, there was a lot of off-season hype, not so much by everyone locally, but also just maybe too much nationally. And this team still is having some growing pains, building the chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be playing better football toward the middle portion of the season than they are right now. It looks a little off, and they are still adjusting to some of the defensive trends around the NFL.
All right, Texans at home coming up on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's get into that. We're going to talk a lot as well in the next few minutes about C.J. Stroud, about this defense. We're going to hear from D'Amico, C.J., Will Anderson as well, plus a little bit later in the show. We're going to pick our over-under on a couple of topics going into this one. Let's first pop up Jacksonville, guys, and what they've done so far through 3 games. And we're going to take a look at their numbers. First, the game coming up Sunday, 12 noon at NRG Stadium. And it's their first look at them. This is a winless football team, but Cecil, we'll start with you. You've played in this league. Every team in this league has talent, and you can't take them for granted.
Oh, no, you can't take it for granted. Honestly, watching their film the last 3 weeks, they probably should be in the 2-1 range. They gave the Miami Dolphins game away. They struggled versus Cleveland Browns, missing opportunities. If you look at them on the offensive side of the football, they have tons of weapons. They drafted a guy, BTJ from LSU, who's I think he's leading their team in receiving right now. You got Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's been hurt, but you still got Travis Etienne. You have tons of guys on the offensive side of the ball that can make plays. They're just trying to figure it out right now. Trevor Lawrence, you paid him this offseason. You expect him to have a big year. And defensively, you got Hines Allen, 17.5 sacks last year. You went out and got Eric Armstead. You got Darnell Savage. They added some key pieces. So like you mentioned, everywhere on that team, there's people that can make plays and are good. They just haven't found a way to get it going yet. Plus, it's a division opponent. Nothing's easy in the division.
It seems like every time they play, this rivalry goes back so long, and it seems like it's always a close game when the Jags and the Texans get together. When we can, guys, we got a graphic that shows the results so far of the Jacksonville Jaguars this season. Some close games, by the way, for Jacksonville.
Randy, it's a pressure cooker in Jacksonville. Shad Khan said this was the best team they've had. Certainly doesn't look like a very good football team right now. As Cecil said, they have a lot of talent, but they're not putting it together. They're not playing like a team. The last win in a start by Trevor Lawrence was against the Texans, November 26, 2023. That's a long run, and Trevor is only completing about half his passes. He's not playing anywhere close to the level of C.J. Stroud. I look at Trevor, and I think he's a big part of the problem. He can also be a big part of the solution, but this is not good. They're not going to have Evan Ingram in this game. He's going to be out.
I don't think we have the graphic, but they're coming off a loss to the Buffalo Bills. Well, close game, I believe, if I recall right, week 1 against Miami.
That's right.
Pretty close game there on the road. So, which Jacksonville team will we see? And the Texans have some issues too. They've got to clean up.
I look at it and I think, Randy, with the Texans, obviously we can't ignore the penalty issue. They got 28 penalties this year. They had 11 this past game. Laramie Tunsil leads the NFL in penalties. He has got 10 called on him and 9 assists. That's been a big emphasis all week behind the scenes with Bobby Slowick, with D'Amico Ryans, trying to fix the penalty bug that's infected this franchise.
And you got to find a way to run the football. Like, you can't give teams And I think that's a way you protect C.J. Stroud as well, right? Being able to run the football. You talk about two high defenses pre-show. Well, how do you get a team out of a two high defense, taking away the deep ball, be able to run the football, right? But that comes with communication up front, getting that cohesiveness with Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, Jeremy Tunsil, the rest of the line, Larry Tunsil, the rest of the line, understanding, okay, zone scheme, who I block, how long do I stay on the block, and that will come. But this week you need to really be able to run.
They've got to finish blocks. I mean, there's some times where there's more meat on the bone where if you stay on your blocker, we've seen some clips where Cam Akers, he was coming free, but then the backside guy makes the tackle.
Yeah.
So they've got to finish. Around the league, like you mentioned, 64% of the time they're running this too high, which is just cover two deep safeties designed to take away the deep pass, and we're at historically low numbers. Lowest since 1993 for passing yards per game, 400 yards roughly, and it used to be 496 just 5 years ago. Randy, all the offenses are having problems. It's not just the Texans.
Absolutely. And as far as the running game goes, as of right now when we're taping this, Joe Mixon out.
Joe Mixon out, yep.
Damian Pierce
out.
Definitely ruled out. You're reporting that he's out. I know the team hadn't announced anything.
Yeah, Damian will not be able to practice.
Okay.
I'll be going to practice soon. Yeah, the expectation is Damian is out too.
All right, very good.
Tank Dell.
All right, let's listen in now. Each and every Wednesday, they have media sessions there out at NRG Park. And D'Amico Ryans speaks with the media on Wednesday. Here's a little bit of what he had to say on Wednesday afternoon.
Viking game is over. It really doesn't matter. It has no bearing on this week. We got to go out and do whatever it takes to do to be in position to win this game this week. So that's the Vikings game is behind us. We put that behind us, on Monday. So we move forward and it's on to Jacksonville. For us, every week, every game is important. And that's what it's about this week. Like whatever happened. Now this week is about how can we beat Jacksonville. And I know Jacksonville is seeing it the exact same way. They're not worried about what happened. They're worried about us, and that's how it should be. So we'll have a division opponent coming into our house. It's going to be a tough matchup. We both know each other very well, and it's going to be a fight. So we're looking forward to the matchup.
But do you feel like that the pre-snap penalties has been addressed, and you guys can move forward and clean that up?
The pre-snap definitely has been addressed. Well, again, we spent time on that, talked about it, we addressed it, and we see on Sunday that it's been addressed, and we'll handle it really well. Offensive line had a great day at work today. Everybody's dialed in. Everybody understands who we are, what we're about, and what it's going to take for us to get back on track, and that's what we're focused on. Yeah, for Jacksonville, I throw the record out the window because, looking at both their first games, they're in those games, and they're in control of those games, right? And, had a comeback. Miami had a nice comeback versus them. They were toe-to-toe with Cleveland there. So this is a really good football team. Starting with their defensive line, really big front. They're tough up front. They're physical. They're going to challenge us. And their back end, they play sticky coverage and they challenge you. So it's a really good team. And we're not letting their record get in the way of what the film says. The film says it's a good team, really well-coached team. Doug has done a great job of coaching this team. Ryan has done a great job with the defense. Offensively, just watching ETN and the way he runs the ball, really explosive player, wants to play downhill. Their O-line plays physical. ETN also does a great job of getting out in the passing game and the screens. So this can be an explosive offense for sure. And they get the ball out very quick. Trevor has done that his entire career, finding a way to get the ball out quickly.
All right, that was D'Amico Ryans on Wednesday at NRG Park, talking about what they expect to see, guys, from this Jacksonville defense thrown at them. This is a hungry football team coming to town. D'Amico knows it. All the players know it as well.
Yeah, they're going to come here ready to play, looking for their first win. They understand how important it is to get a division win. But when you come off 0-3, when you come off a Monday night where you kind of got embarrassed, right? 40-plus points. You couldn't do nothing on the offensive end. I think it was 6 or 7 straight possessions from Buffalo where they were able to score. That's embarrassing. So they want to get back on the right track, and that starts this week, coming to NRG and trying to be able to, Trevor Lawrence, as we mentioned, getting the ball different to his targets and trying to get the offense going.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, we got a graphic here, the comparisons, tail to tape, if you will, between Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud. Let's kind of spin around here, take a look at the numbers. Now, these are season numbers so far. Guys, when you look at them, you look at Lawrence. Let's start with Lawrence. Just 52.8% completion rate. I know he wants that number to go way up. A slow start for him out of the gates. And protection's a problem for Jacksonville right now, giving up 11 sacks.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of talent on the offensive line. They haven't invested as heavily as the Texans have. Texans not quite getting the results in terms of pass protection that they would hope for with all they've invested.
Yeah, this is it's interesting because Trevor Lawrence was one of the best quick game quarterbacks in the league last year. And then this year they seem to get away from that. He seems inaccurate, and after his first read, he doesn't have time to go to second and third read. So that's kind of why he's inaccurate. But it's going to be a struggle to get things going in Jacksonville for sure.
We got some video of C.J. Stroud. Let's talk more about C.J. And when you look at this offense so far through 3 games, this isn't exactly the offense we thought we would be seeing, I think, right out of the get-go, coming off of last season. Because a little bit slow out of the gates. Cecil, we'll start with you. Defenses just study this a little more, and they've got the answers right now with development check.
Well, I tell you what, you bring in so many new pieces, and you have to find ways to get those guys the ball. And like you mentioned, they had a whole offseason to study CJ. They had a whole offseason to study Bobby Slowick. So they have an understanding of what's going on. But CJ is still playing phenomenal. He's still producing. He's still being who we think he is. In my opinion, he's still ascending. You got to clean up some penalties, clean up the running game, and I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, he's an outstanding quarterback in every facet of the game. Where they have issues are things that he can't control necessarily. Running the football, can't break these tackles for these backs. He can't block for these guys. And I think they're being almost too diplomatic about the distribution of targets. Bobby Slowick's got to see what's working, stick with it. I'd like to see even more Nico Collins involvement and Stephon Diggs. These are the guys that are getting the yards and the touches for you.
By the way, do you expect Nico, I know he's got the hamstring issue, do you expect him, I know you're going to know more when you go to practice, but as of this taping right now,
as of this taping right now, I'm told he's doing everything he can to play. He's going to get treatment around the clock, and he is intending to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What do you think about this arsenal, the weapons they've got, the development, especially Nico showing this season, the number he's putting up early. He spent a lot of extra time in the weight room. He's a more physical receiver, it looks like.
He's a true number 1 receiver. And coming into this year, I'm like, we'll see who's number 1. Is it Stephon still? Is it Nico? Can Tank slide in there? He's a true number 1 receiver from his physicality, from his route running, to be able to create separation, making big plays, and you can see the connection that him and CJ have.
All right, CJ, just like DeMeco Ryans, also went to the podium on Wednesday. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
How do you feel like you guys are doing as far as compartmentalizing those 2 things, last week and then getting better for this week?
Just learning from it. Really just, one thing for me is like just keeping our confidence, keeping our swag, like don't let one game define who we are, you know what I'm saying? So it's early in the year, we still are a really, really good football team, and we're going to go out there and prove that, So got to learn from our mistakes, but also, can't hold our heads down and not learn from it and just really just start sulking in our own sorrow, you know what I mean? So still keep the swag.
Nico talked about how Jacksonville, it maybe not have a win, but they feel like they are a better team than what their record says. From what you've seen on film early, what have you seen that you like about them?
I think that's exactly right, man. I think they were doing really well against Miami, really had that game in the bag, and then same thing with Cleveland, played them really tough, and then, of course, kind of had a little off day, but against the Buffalo. But I don't think their record speaks for what type of football team they are. I think they're, really solid, especially on defense. Have a really great D-line, starting with Josh Allen, and then, got Armstead and 44 on the other side. And, Cisco's playing good ball, 5, and getting coached really well. So, got another great defense we got to play against and got to be on our A game. But I definitely don't think that their record shows exactly what they put on film.
How helpful will it be to last year you played against that defense?
It's not the end of the world, there's a lot of things we can get better, and it's good that we're going to do it now because it has to be done, So I said those are my messages to the team, with other things, but some of the main things.
All right, that was C.J. Stroud on Wednesday out at NRG Park. I think he's fired up to get back in front of his home crowd again and take care of business against this Jacksonville defense. Now, real quick, before we go to break, let's touch on the Texans defense as well. We got Will Anderson sound here in a second. This is a key game for this defense. They've got it, and we'll talk about keys later to a victory. pressure. They got to bring it all day long on Trevor Lawrence.
Well, Will Anderson is leading the league in pressures with 20. I'm sorry. Is it Will Anderson and then Danielle Hunter, or Danielle Hunter and then Will Anderson?
It's Anderson Hunter.
It's Anderson Hunter.
Yep.
39 total.
And then it's amazing. They can get pressure, just got to finish the deal. And I tell you what, them getting pressure helps the defense, the interior defensive line. Those guys settle, and those guys get to the quarterback as well. You get pressure on him, you'll be in good shape.
Yep.
They got to finish. They are close to the quarterback a lot and affecting the throws, but they got to get more sacks. They got to finish.
All right, Will Anderson Jr. got about a minute from what he had to say on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think we can do a really great job of that just because we have a foundation and we know who we are as a team and we know our mentality, and that's what we have to fall back on when things are not going our way. Who are we? And our foundation of who we are, just that swarm mentality, and that's what we have to be on offense and defense. Yeah, I just think it's being detailed in everything, in meetings, taking notes, just being on time for things, all that type of stuff, and just making sure that you're staying on edge and never getting complacent, never getting lazy and stuff like that. Not saying that we have guys here that's doing that, but those are the things that can contribute when you have such a great talent group of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I told the team after the game, like, teams are not going to lay down for it just because we have all these great guys on our team. You know what I'm saying? So we always have to stay on edge. We always have to try to stay ahead of the competition and be sharp on our tools and what we have to do and execute on.
D'Amico told us he was going to deliver.
Yeah, man, at the end of the day, we're all grown men. We're all here to do a job. We're all here to win, and we know what it takes to win, and we all have to look at ourselves in the mirror. And I think Coach Ryan did a really great job of bringing that forward to us, and I think that's what makes teams great when you have a head coach that can be up for it with you and can, express to you like, hey, even though you're a dog in your position, this is what you need to get better at, and this is how you can get better. And I think he did a really great job of that, and I think we responded to it really well, and everybody looked in the mirror and said, okay, I see what I need to get better at. Let me go do that today.
All right, Will Anderson Jr., I love that last comment, and Cecil, as a former player, when their things are correct, it's almost an individual thing. What can I do?
Yeah.
What changes can I make? And hopefully your teammates follow suit as well.
Oh, yeah, that's awareness, that's responsibility, that's being a leader. And even though he's in year 2, you can tell he stands out as a leader in that locker room.
Captain Anderson, and to be a team captain as a rookie last year when he's the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and again this year, really speaks to the kind of person he is. The parents, the football program played in Alabama. This guy checks every box.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Inside the Texans. Mic'd up with Mcilvoy. Talk a little bit more about this game. Our over-unders on a couple of key things we're looking at ahead of Sunday's 12 noon game against the Jacksonville Jags. Take a break. Be right back. And welcome back to Inside the Texans, everybody. Mic'd up with McIlvoy. We continue talking about Texans and the Jaguars again. If you're going out to the game, get there early. It's a 12 noon kickoff, as you see right here in NRG Stadium. And as always, if you're tailgating, they open it up early and the party begins. But go to your seats by kickoff, guys. You got to get your seats. Not like at 12:15. You got to be there like maybe 11:50. Be ready to go. Make some noise coming up.
Brady, there's some pretty good food in the concession stands. They give us that preview. Get in there.
Absolutely. And by the way, the roof is now completely fixed. I assume they'll have it closed, but it is operating. They got the panels done, so we're all good right there. All right, let's talk a little bit now. This is a fun part we do each and every week, the over-under portion of the program, if you will. We're going to pop something up, and we're going to weigh in now. Let's start down here on the left side, guys, and start with the over-under on C.J. Stroud. There he is, and we just threw out some maybe projected numbers, 275, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, had 2 interceptions last week. Over-under. Aaron, we're going to start with you. What do you think?
275 yards. I don't think he hits this number. I think 250. I think they're going to try to be more balanced. They were really one-dimensional with 38 rushing yards last week and a 2.3 average.
Yeah.
They got to run the ball a little bit more, and that might cut down on this yardage total.
All right. What about to continue on the touchdowns, interceptions?
I like the touchdowns. I think he hits that. I think 1 to Stephon Diggs, and maybe 1 for Dalton Schultz, who's been a little bit underutilized in this offense so far. And I think he's very aware, as he said, of Andre Sisco, who's a rangy safety, and he will take care of the football. That'll be a big emphasis. I say no picks for CJ this week, a clean game.
Okay. All right. A couple of guys, like Wade and Travis, thought, I think it's going to be a clean game last week.
Don't jinx this.
I predicted 1 interception, and yeah, 2. 1 offensive pass, right?
1 was tipped.
All right, Cecil, what do you think when you look at all this?
You know what? Watching Jacksonville versus Buffalo Monday nights, tons of man coverage from Jacksonville, but I still say it's under for the yards. I say I'm with Anthony around 250, 260, but I'm over on the touchdowns. I'm going to say you get 3 or 4 touchdowns. Yes. Man coverage. Man coverage. Okay. I think you'll be able to get some mesh routes in. I think you'll be able to utilize Stephon Diggs. If Nico plays Nico, I'm thinking Cam Akers can get a touchdown or 2 in the passing game. And then last week, 2 interceptions. He's not going to have back-to-back 2 turnover weeks. I'm going under with the 1 interception.
All right, I'm going to say, just not to go against you guys, but I'm going to go over, even despite the receiver situation.
Right.
I'm going to go a little over, not crazy, but maybe under 300 yards, but I think over 275. I think he's going to match that 2 touchdowns, and I'm going to say clean game as well. I agree.
There you go. Yeah.
That was rare what we saw last week in the ball game. 5 interceptions all of last year, 2 in one game. One was a tip pass. But I think it's a clean game as well. So, all right, so that's over-under for C.J. Stroud against this Jacksonville defense. All right, guys, you guys spin around. I'm going to come over here. Talk some defense now by these guys. And let's start with the sack totals. We got 3 categories here. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and interceptions by the defense as well. I'm going to get out of the way here. Let's start with Will Anderson Jr. What a start he's had. Cecil, we'll begin with you. Over under 1.5 sacks on Sunday. What do you think?
Over. He has been so close so many times. This offensive line for the Jacksonville Jaguars have been struggling. Cam Robinson, their big offensive line as far as when it comes to the money situation, he hasn't been playing well. I'm saying over 1.5.
All right, you got Danielle Hunter right over here. We got 1 down for him.
I don't know why it's 1. It should be over again.
Okay.
I think he'll end up with 2. I think Will Anderson will end up more than 1.5. I think this will be a great defensive game getting back on track.
And interceptions by the defense. Hopefully they put the pressure on Lawrence. They're going to make him throw it away a little bit.
You know what? I'm saying I'm matching that number at 2. Defense turnovers usually come in bunches. You didn't get many last week, so I'm expecting if you get pressure on the quarterback, make him rush it, you'll get 2.
All right, your turn, Aaron. Let's start with Will Anderson.
Yeah, Will Anderson. Big fan of what he's doing. I just don't think he'll get this number. And the reason why, it's a good reason. He's going to get so much pressure, and Danielle Hunter, that the interior guys, like we saw Tim Settle Jr. get 2 sacks last week. And that's from playing within the defense and other guys getting involved. Mario Edwards Jr., we've seen he can rush the passer.
Playing well.
So I'm going to go with the under, but I think he gets 1. With Danielle Hunter, I just think he's too good for these guys. He's elite. And I'm going to go with the over. I think that they're going to put a lot of attention on Will Anderson. I think Hunter, maybe he breaks out with the 2 sacks. I think they get 1 interception, not 2. And my hunch is it's going to be by Derek Stingley Jr. I think they try to go after Kamar Lassiter some, but he's going to be up to the test. And every now and then, they're going to test out Stingley, and he's going to take it away at least 1 time.
All right, so I'm going to look at this as well. Let's start with Will Anderson Jr. I think I'm going to go over. Did you go over on Will?
Absolutely.
I think that's the one I agree with you on. I think he's going to go over. This guy's playing at a level right now nobody can stop. So I think he's going to have a great day Sunday. So I'm going to go the over on the 1.5. Danielle Hunter, I'm going to stick with 1 right now, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. But I'm going to say he's going to get 1. Interceptions by the defense, I'm going to go 1 as well. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think they're going to really frustrate. I'm just not really impressed with Trevor Lawrence right now.
And they're struggling.
I haven't been impressed with him since he came to the league, actually. He's had his moments, but I don't think he's ascended like people thought he would when he came.
Generational quarterback. We haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't. We haven't.
All right, so you're going in. We got a couple of minutes left before we wrap it up. The injury front. Let's walk through that. If people tuning in late here, what is the situation right now? What you've been reporting all week? Who's definitely out that we're not going to see?
Joe Mixon will not play. His ankle sprain is pretty bad, and that's why he's been unable to play for the last couple of weeks. And then Dameon Pierce thought he was close on the strained hamstring, wasn't able to practice. They decided to be precautionary with it. So same backs: Cam Akers, Dario Ogunbowale, British Brooks, and if they elevate J.J. Taylor. Wide receiver, Tank Dell, bruised ribs, very painful, not going to play. And then one other key injury we're tracking, Jimmy Ward, the safety, could possibly miss this game with the groin injury. It's touch and go.
Injury's starting to mount a little bit. Yep. All right, we're going to end it today. We got our 3 keys to victory. Each of us kind of weighed in a little bit. Well, let's pop those up. And Cecil, you got the honors first. Let's talk about your top 3 to get this victory.
Number 1, easy on the penalties. 11 last week. I think it was 12 the week before. Leading the league. Laramie Tunsil had 6 himself. This tightened things up on the offensive line. If you tighten those pre-snap penalties, I'm telling you, there's no play call for 1st and 20. There's no play call for 2nd and 19. 13 or 3rd and 38, right? You're putting pressure on Bobby and the offense. Clean up those penalties, you'll be in good shape. Protect C.J. Stroud at number 2. You got to be able to run the football, keep him upright. If you keep C.J. upright, he will read the defense, give the right person the right ball, good things will happen. And thirdly, swarm. Physically beat up the Jacksonville offense. They are down in the dumps right now. I'm never one to discourage somebody that's already discouraged, but in football, they're already down. Let's just bury them. Continue to be physical, take the ball away, make things tough for Jacksonville.
All right, Aaron, go for your 3 now.
Got to be more efficient in the passing game, Randy. You look at what they've done. They're not getting it done in terms of taking care of the football this past week. And they've got to take what's there, the intermediate passes. Of course, the penalties, they've got to be better at that. They've got to run the football better. This is historically bad, how bad they've run the football, and it wasn't drawn up this way. They've got to play better. A lot of free blockers, just tackling guys. And then on defense, you got to take the football away. You got to create pressure, and they got to tackle. ATN is the key. You got to stop Trevor Etienne.
Good player.
Because as far as their offense goes, he is the engine.
All right, I heard from Cecil. Aaron, here are my 3 keys coming up. Pass pro, I think it has to be an elite level right now. It's been not where they need it to be. They've got to protect it, and I think you guys hit on as well. Give CJ time to throw the football. Run, Cam, run, because Akers is going to be out there. Give him the rock, and then again, it goes back to that O-line. Got to get him going. And then make Lawrence uncomfortable. We've hit on that. Just bring the pressure on him. Make him second guess what he's doing all afternoon, and I think that could be done. Those are my 3 keys as well to a victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as we end it here, we've got about 30 seconds, guys. Still very early in the season. Cecil, I wanted to start with you here. As a player, you don't panic early. They're pretty good. They're 2-1 right now. There's always things to clean up, always things to work on. But they're on the right track.
They're on a very good track right now. Actually, I agree with Aaron. As the season goes, they'll get more cohesive. They'll understand the identity of what we're trying to do offensively and defensively. But they're off to a good start, in my opinion. If you can win if you can win Sunday, you're 3-1. The first quarter of the season, 3 wins, 1 loss, and one of the toughest schedules in the league before the season started, right? So I think you're in good shape.
3-1, 2-0 in the AFC South.
Yeah.
And then getting ready for Buffalo Bills and Stephon Diggs. Look for all the sound bites. Josh Allen's already having to explain his quotes. We can't wait to talk to
H-Town blue jerseys.
It's going to be fun. Buffalo and Texans. That's the big game.
All right, guys, this has been fun. Half hour talking Texans as we get ready for Sunday's game there at NRG Stadium. Again, that's a 12 noon kickoff. Fans get there early, tailgate, have fun, and then get in those seats, make some noise. Hopefully a victory coming up on Sunday. And as Cecil mentioned, then go 3-1 after 4 weeks. Cecil, man, great to have you in.
Hey,
you're welcome anytime, man. Anytime you want to do a little TV, having fun. Aaron, thanks as always, man. Appreciate it. Cecil Shorts and Aaron Wilson, Randy McIlvoy solo for now. Enjoy the game coming up on Sunday, everybody.